Quarterback Anthony Richardson is in the middle of the QB2 job for the Indianapolis Colts, and while he hasn't had a perfect preseason, he has certainly outplayed the competition thus far and has put himself in a really good position to potentially win this battle this upcoming weekend against the Detroit Lions. So he will get the first run with some of the starters on the field. He'll get most of the first quarter, and we will see exactly what he looks like. Now, I do think some people are reading into this as like one last way to audition him for a trade, which certainly could be in the cards. He still has an active trade request out there. But overall, I do think that he has shown that he is the best backup quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts this offseason. So let's dive into some of his preseason film, talk about the pros and the cons. And while there's still some volatility there in his game, there is a way to scheme up offense with Anthony Richardson compared to a Riley Leonard who has looked a bit shell-shocked throughout this preseason. So let's go into some of the best plays and the worst plays from Anthony Richardson here in the offseason program and just kind of break down his game overall. First play here, very first throw of the preseason, you kind of see some of those same old issues with Richardson where he's just too rushed on this throw. Like, there's really no reason to be so rushed. A little bit jittery here with his first throw of the preseason. Doesn't set his feet at all. When you're releasing the ball with your whole body facing the sideline and you're trying to throw the ball forward, your arm is actively working against the rest of your body, and you're going to have to overcompensate it there. So he has to drive a little bit further with his arm, and he's just throwing this ball in the dirt here. It should have been a 10 to 15 yard gain to Will Mallory, like every other throw to Will Mallory has been this preseason. But instead, he just rushes his mechanics way too much, kind of short arms it, and throws that ball right in the ground. Just an inaccurate pass. We kind of do still see those issues with Richardson when he is on the move and out of the pocket, even though I think he's cleaned up some of his footwork over the years, and we'll show it on some of his out throws or whatever. Like, some of the footwork does look a lot better. I do think there are still issues with this because at the end of the day, he's still a pretty stiff athlete. He's very explosive and very powerful, but he's not the most like nimble and fluid athlete. So when he gets out on the move like this, his body does actively work against him sometimes, and he has to use too much arm, and then we get into some issues like this where the ball is just not agreeing with him. But overall, I do think his mechanics looked a little bit better. Well, let's go to the interception here now against the New England Patriots. So this is 100% on Coleman Owen. Like, I'm not trying to take away fault for the receiver here. Receiver drops the football, and it's intercepted by the flat corner in cover 2. But I will say this. I don't know why we are reading this side here against cover 2. So what we're going to get over here on the bottom of the screen is we're going to get an out and vertical concept where, if this is like a hard flat cover 2, you might have the little hole shot over the top. But also if this defender drops with the receiver, you might get the out route here from Coleman Owen. So, I can see it from one perspective, like, okay, we're going to try to hit this little window here with Coleman Owen if this corner drops a little bit here to take away any potential hole shot. But this ball needs to be out quickly on the money and probably thrown a little bit low to protect that receiver from the corner crashing downhill here. So overall, I just don't like reading that side of the field against cover 2. I'd much rather read the triangle concept we're going to get here at the top of the screen, and we're going to talk about that in a second. So what we see here is Richardson goes right. Like I mentioned, corner is, again, he's sitting on this underneath route, right? Like he's already at depth, and he's just going to drive down. He's actually not going to really go with the vertical route at all. So maybe if he opened his hips and he ran with that, then you could have this out route here and have a nice little positive gain. But because that's not what's happening here, because he's already at depth and he's just going to drive down, if you're going to throw this ball to this out route, ball has to be pretty low and back here, like to the outside. It can't really miss high on this play. Again, the receiver is at fault here for dropping this pass. I just don't like the decision to go that way with how they were lined up. Like, again, if this corner was in like hard flat, like if he was a little bit more shallow here and you thought that, hey, maybe I could get the whole shot down here, I think that could work. If you see this corner open up and run there, then I could see this, but I just don't love going to the out route here when at the top of the screen you have this triangle concept where I just think that's way more suited for beating the coverage that you're going to get here. We're going to have the little out route here. You're going to have the spot. And this is, I think it's either going to be a post or a corner, one of those there. And I just think you have a much easier path to success going at the top of the screen here. So I just don't love the decision pre-snap on this one. I think it still should have worked. It still should have been a couple yard gain here. But once he missed a little bit high, receiver, it just made it much worse by jumping for it. ended up being an interception on the play. So receiver is absolutely at fault for the interception. I just don't think overall the process was great because, again, the way this corner is just playing this technique here, I just don't love it. So yeah, I would have preferred him to look left. Short side, we have the triangle concept. I think that works a little bit better against the 4 defenders that are up there. So I think they would have had a better path to success going left on this play, but obviously, he shouldn't have been penalized in the interception on this play. It just a bad drop by the receiver leads to a pick, and Richardson gets his first interception of the preseason. But then he comes back on the next drive with a really, really nice drive on the outside throw here. And this is where I've really been impressed with Richardson's growth, I guess, the last couple years, is setting that alley to the outside, setting the hallway to the outside is what we call it with quarterbacks. So here we're going to watch where they're doing play action. We're going to get this, 7-man protection across the board, right? So we're going to get the extra help here. Now these guys are going to pull off into routes afterwards, but you get that 7-man protection against 4 rushers. And really what you're trying to do with this is with the play action, you're trying to isolate your receivers on the outside boundaries, see which guy can be your route winner on the outside. And Richardson correctly identifies that, hey, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, that safety is playing more to the inside. We're going to get an outbreaking route here from Westbrook-Ikhine. So he's got leverage. He's already got the corner opening up to carry this a little bit deeper. So he's got the leverage out there. He's got the talented receiver out there, or the more talented receiver out there. And he correctly reads that, sets his footwork to the outside. Just like really, really good footwork here from Richardson. And again, I don't want to just completely ignore this because this is something that has been an issue for him throughout his career, setting that hallway to the outside. I think he does a really good job of coming off play action, opening his hips out there, moving his feet to where he wants to set it, because sometimes as a rookie or even in his first couple years, he would keep his feet set a little bit too inside and rely too much on his arm. Here he sets to the sideline, pulls the throw through his rotation here and gets it to Westbrook-Ikhine with a really, really nice throw. So I do think we're seeing a lot more improvement from Richardson on these outside the number throws, which were kind of concerning early on in his career because he's now setting that hallway to the outside. He is now making sure that he is aligned to his target, and we are seeing much better throws outside the numbers. And we'll see on a couple other plays here. So I thought that was a really good play from Anthony Richardson. Here, I actually don't hate the read because what we're going to get here, I believe, let me actually run the clip here because I think this is going to be a little bit of that mesh concept where he fumbled. Yeah, so this is going to be a little bit of a mesh concept. We're going to get an outside dig here. We're going to get mesh over the middle. And then we're going to get Coleman Owen running like a crosser over the top, right? So we're trying to attack at multiple levels here. And what Richardson is reading here is he's expecting a little bit of carry with this crosser over the middle, and it's going to open up that backside dig. I actually don't hate the read, especially in single high. You have a good chance of that dig being open. It's just not a good route by Eli Pancol at the bottom of the screen. He doesn't really create the separation that Richardson is looking for. He's not really going full speed at it all the way. So Richardson has to move off that. I do think the issue here is moving to the crosser afterwards. You can see with his eyes, he goes right to the crosser, and the crosser just has no chance. That crosser, I just don't think was ever going to be open. I would have liked to see him come back down to one of these drag routes. By then, his internal clock is already sped up, and with his athletic ability, he's already thinking escape because he's so big, so athletic, so fast. So I actually don't hate that because, again, the first initial read I thought was pretty good. Then he goes to the crosser, and then he just doesn't work his way all the way down. But again, when you have a quarterback like this, scrambling is sometimes just as good as a check down because he's so athletic. But the big thing is you got to protect the football when you're scrambling, and just a little too loose and careless with the football leads to the fumble here. And it's just always been something with Richardson. He's a little bit careless at times. You want to see him protect that football a little bit more. The running upside is just so good, but again, protect the football, man. Like, that's the number one thing, especially in the preseason. Just get down after like a 5-yard gain, slide down. Like, we don't need to be diving forward and fumbling the football. So a couple turnovers early in this game against the Patriots in week 1 of the preseason, and certainly it looked like it was going to be a bad showing from him. But then it really started to click after that. And I thought this was a really, really nice play from him. So what we're going to get here at the top of the screen is we're going to get like these double slants here, right? And with these double slants, we're basically going to get the tight end running off this guy out of the window. And then you're going to get that one-on-one with inside leverage to the top of the screen. I think this is DJ Montgomery. So we get a really nice blitz pickup by the running back as well here. Ulysses Bentley IV picks up that blitz. Richardson does a really good job of working back to that, again, that 2 slant there that's going to have the open window with inside leverage, throws it perfectly to the receiver, like basically puts the ball in the receiver's hands accurately over the middle of the field, steps into it. It's a laser, and we get that first down conversion. This is an excellent, excellent throw from Richardson. Steps into it, really smooth footwork. Look at the footwork too, good balance. Worked his way back to that rotation too, because look, he doesn't even stay on the right the whole time, right? He's looking off to the left, works his way back to the right, gets that foot lined up to where he wants to throw it to his target, and gets it right to him. Really, really nice in rhythm throw over the middle of the field, and what you want to see from Anthony Richardson. Another play action out of the gun here from Richardson. We're going to get Mallory isolated against this backup defensive back. We already know that's going to be a win for sure. Really, really nice route. Richardson steps into the throw, expecting pressure, but still steps into it. Watch the footwork. Steps into it, releases that football on time, gets it right out in space to Will Mallory. Really nice throw from Anthony Richardson. Good read, too. Again, expecting that matchup to win, because, of course, that matchup was going to win. It's Will Mallory versus a backup. We're able to get that big-time gain on the play. Another play action here from Richardson right before the 2-minute warning. And again, we see the footwork issues outside the pocket, right? I think when he's in the pocket, the footwork has looked a lot cleaner. But when he's on the move, we are seeing a little bit of the concerns. We're here. Again, we're throwing from a very unstable base. I'm not saying that every time you're on the move, you have to set your feet and just be perfect throwing it. But when you're a player like Richardson, who's not as nimble, not as fluid as like a Pat Mahomes or some of the other more fluid passers like Caleb Williams as well, I do think it's just more optimal for him to try to set his feet a little bit more when he gets out of the pocket. Because here, when he's throwing on the move, he's just stepping over his own feet. They're just not going to be where you want. And he kind of just lightly tosses this in there. He's trying to take off a little bit to float it over the defender, but as a result, it nearly gets intercepted. It bounces off the hands of the defensive back, and Will Mallory's able to make a really nice play down the field. So, yeah, there are still some issues with him on the move. Getting out of the pocket on these play action plays, we are still seeing a little bit of the footwork issues. We're still seeing a little bit of him trying to take some steam off his throws, and as a result, it's leading to some inaccurate moments, because really where he's at his best is when he can just step in and drive passes. Like here, when he can just get back to his 3-step drop, right? Hit his back foot, set his feet to where he wants to, and just drive that football. He is at his best. He is his most accurate. He's his most decisive. He doesn't make mistakes. This is where you get the best of Anthony Richardson. It's when he is out of the pocket trying to throw against his lower body, when he is trying to continually like work his reads and stuff. That is where you start seeing some of the issues. But if you can scheme up the first or second read open, and he can just hit that back foot, get into his footwork, and drive that football, again, outside the numbers, really good, accurate throw here, that is when we are seeing the best Anthony Richardson. And I think that you can draw up a scheme that way. It's not always going to be perfect. Like, you need to protect the football when it doesn't work, but I think you can certainly like move the football with Anthony Richardson in this direction. But here, again, just a really good read. We're getting the all-out blitz. You know, you're going to have leverage to the outside with your wide receiver one-on-one. He's going to break out. He's going to sell the inside and then break out vertical, or break out to the sideline. And you get a really good read and really good throw here from Anthony Richardson. So overall, I thought the Patriots showing was pretty rough until about the 3-minute mark of the second quarter, and then you saw some really good moments from Anthony Richardson. The Falcons game, however, was a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, he was out there with third and fourth string guys, so you don't want to kill the guy for it, but it was certainly a bit more of a mixed bag. Here, it's a little bit interesting, this play. It's probably the most interesting play to break down. So one, the bad snap from Josh Kreutz just throws off the timing, right? If this ball is snapped a little bit more accurately, I do think it speeds up the timing a little bit better, and it helps with the overall flow of the play. But here, I do think we see, like, again, Richardson gets that back foot planted, good base, really quick release, but he's just a tick late on this throw. I think the window was open, but the ball probably needs to be out right here. Like, the ball probably has to be thrown at this point, and you have a big gain for the Colts. And I do think he's fully capable of it, and I hesitate to really blame him here, because he does have to get his feet set. So, like, maybe if he sped up his process by half a second, which, again, if the ball isn't snapped low, he probably can speed up his process a little bit. Overall, though, he is about half a second late. The ball is tipped by the defender, bounces off Deion Burks throwing behind him, and leads to an incomplete pass. So I don't really want to put too much on Richardson here because I do think everything that he does once the ball is in his hands is pretty good. It's just the bad snap kind of slows everything up. And it kind of shows in the NFL just like how the process can be affected by just one thing not being perfect. A snap a little bit low to the outside slows up the play action, which slows up his footwork, which leads to this ball being half a second too late. And with the ball being half a second too late, it gets tipped and ends up on the ground. So yeah, I mean, it goes to show you just how process-oriented the NFL is. But I do think Richardson's footwork looks really, really good here. You just want that ball out, like already out by here, right? Especially with that defender opening up to the sideline, to the flat. That is your window to throw it. Your window is right here. It's not right here. And because, again, he had to wait an extra second, that window just closed up. And it ended up being a tip ball by the linebacker. So I evaluate this as a fine play for Richardson. Not really the biggest deal for him. I think more of it comes down to the snap that slowed up the play action and slowed up everything else in the play. You would like to convert that for sure, though. The window was certainly there for Richardson to hit it. This one is just, again, the scariness of Anthony Richardson is just he's such a playmaker in his heart where like this play is just so dead to right. He tries to make the defender miss. He's getting held. He's in the end zone. And he kind of does like a Carson Wentz impression here where he's getting tackled in the end zone. He obviously wants to get that ball out of his hands so it's not a safety, but in doing so nearly makes a big-time mistake by throwing with no base against his body right into the chest of a linebacker. It's just, I understand he's trying to make a play here, but I think ideally what you want to do is when you turn your head right here and you see the defender in your face, just dirt that ball. Like throw the ball at 45 feet. Play is dead at that point. Sometimes you can't be a hero in every single play, so trying to make that guy miss, and then you're going to get hit from behind. Like you can accentuate a bad play by making it a terrible play by turning, again, what should be an incomplete pass into an interception going the other way for a touchdown. So got a little lucky here that wasn't picked off, but certainly don't want to live on the edge like that every single time. A couple more good plays here, though, from the Falcons game, which, again, it was not a good statistical game from Richardson, but I think, again, the footwork has shown a lot more than what the numbers would show. Like right here, we're going to get the play action read. We're going to get this is an RPO play, right? So the Colts leaned on RPOs quite a bit the rest of this game against the Falcons, and we're going to get just this little glance route. And Richardson is going to sell this run fake. He's seeing that this defender's eyes are not really in coverage here, so he's going to correctly pull this ball. And then we're going to see him just set those feet really well. I mean, look at just the transition that we see from Richardson. This is exactly what you wanted to see. This is something we've wanted to see since his rookie season, just how clean the transition is from play fake, pull football out, go get that back foot planted, front foot pulled forward, release the football right in the receiver's chest. Really, really nice throw, really nice process, really nice just fluid motion that we see from Richardson, and it should be caught for a pretty big gain. It's just, fourth string wide receivers, what are you going to do? But I do think that was a very clean play from Richardson and what you want to see from him in the RPO game. Here we get another RPO, and maybe people wouldn't classify it as an RPO because it's no like fake to a running back, but essentially this is going to be QB power. And then Richardson has the ability to pull it and either throw the screen to the running back here, or he's going to take the one-on-one matchup at the top of the screen. So he gets multiple options on this play depending on what he is seeing pre-snap. And I think he does a good job here of reading pre-snap that, hey, my receiver at the top of the screen has that leverage. He has the corner playing off. He can break to the outside here and has some room on the sideline. So instead of me having to take this ball and carry it or throw it to a screen back here where we don't really have the numbers advantage, I mean, we have everyone kind of looking that way. I don't have the numbers to the bottom of the screen to throw that right there. I'm going to have this one-on-one matchup up top. Let me just set my feet off of this RPO and throw this out-breaking route. Throws it accurately, throws it with really good footwork. Again, sets the foot, sets the hallway. I mean, look at where the hallway is pointing right here, right? So setting the hallway as a quarterback is where the back middle part of your foot is pointing. He is pointing that directly where he wants to throw that football. He's not being lazy with his footwork. He has cleaned that up really well on this throw here, and he delivers an accurate pass to the sideline to Eli Pankel for a really positive gain on first down. So with what I've seen improvement-wise with his footwork this preseason, I do think you can manufacture a game plan around his skill set. It's just going to be a lot of like one read and like RPO and QB run type stuff, but that is something you can manufacture at least in this league to get some points on the board if he ever had to come into game. So I do think that we have seen improvement there from Anthony Richardson. One more play here though, and I think this is just quintessential Richardson where everything is a disaster from the start, right? We are getting horrible communication from the offensive line here. We're getting center is rolling right on the play. Left guard thinks that we're sliding the protection to the left, and as a result, we get an unblocked defender right up the middle, the worst possible thing you can do to your quarterback, and 100% on whoever was calling the protections here. But Richardson is not expecting, obviously, a guy to be in his face. Nobody gets open at all, so there's not going to be any outlet to throw the ball. And I think if this were any other quarterback on the roster, this is going to be a sack. But this is just what Richardson does, right? He breaks sacks, he creates positive yardage, and what people don't realize is creating 4 yards on a play like this, please don't take hits like this in the preseason, Richardson, please. But creating positive yards on a play like this is an explosive play for the offense, right? He should have been back at the 49-yard line. Instead, he turns this into a gain where the Colts are moving the ball forward at the 38, right? So this is 10-plus yards gained on the play and getting yourself in a much better situation for success on the next play going forward. So this is what Richardson brings to your team. This is the intangibles we talk about. But overall, when we're talking about Anthony Richardson's preseason, again, it's been a mixed bag. Some reads I don't agree with here. Some issues when he's on the move and especially on those like outside rollout play action stuff. Protecting the football still seems to be an issue, but I am liking the footwork. I'm liking the process that he is having pre-snap. I think it's been a lot better in these preseason games. I think that he is just overall reading defenses a little bit better. I think he's driving the football really well with good solid base and good feet. So I think we are seeing progress from Richardson. It's just still not like where you want him to be by year 4, but I do think there are some good aspects of what he's shown this preseason in some areas where, again, if we're talking about like which quarterback behind Daniel Jones can win them a game in a pinch, it's probably Richardson, right? Because you can just draw up plays that accentuate this, right? More matchups on the outside where he can just hit that back foot, drive it outside. Plays where it's like a high-low read and he can just drive it to either the high or the low option. And then you just, use the running game with him. You use his legs, use his ability to pull the football and hope that he can protect the football in that game. There are going to be some moments like this, though, where he tries to be a hero and hopefully it doesn't come back to burn the Colts. But overall, I do think we are seeing some improvement from Richardson. And for my money, he should be the backup quarterback for the Colts going into this next season. So we'll see what Shane Steichen thinks if this last game that he is starting is an audition for other teams or if it is truly a sign that he could be the backup quarterback. But I think he's been better than Riley Leonard through these preseason games. I think he's shown a lot more. And again, if I'm a play caller, if I'm a coach, I think I can scheme up success with Richardson much easier than I can scheme up success with Riley Leonard. So, again, a mixed bag from Richardson, but overall, I do think we have seen some improvement from the young quarterback here in year 4 going into the 2026 season.